Does FS365 or ACF50 protect the bike better in terms of winter crud being stuck to the bike? The real test, of course, is whether it washes off, whether the crud washes off. If, like me, you ride your bike through a typical British winter, you'll know that you get a terrible crud of salt and grime and grit and sand sticking to the bike. The problem is that getting that off is a big job. If you want to do it properly, you've got to do it with a proper shampoo, maybe even snow foam. Even that doesn't always get it off. So the idea would be to be able to wash that crud off by just rinsing it with a hose after every ride. And a couple of products claim to be able to do that. One is FS365, which is made by Scott Oiler, and it's a mixture of mineral oil and water in a permanent emulsion. You spray it on and the water evaporates off, leaving this thin film of very small oil droplets. There are other things in the mixture, in the formula, of course, but in essence, apparently, this is what it is. The other option is ACF50. Now, ACF50, as people know, was developed for protecting against corrosion in the aircraft industry, and its main aim is for fasteners and little nooks and crannies that are out of the way. But there is a way of using it on bigger panels where the crud can stick, and that is to soak a cloth in the ACF50 and to wipe that to form a thin film over the panels. So this is an experiment to see if either of those methods works, and if one does, whether it's better than the other.
So here goes. FS365 is the right hand fork, ACF50 is the left hand fork.
And you can see immediately the sheen that the ACF50 puts on it. For doing the little fasteners, a paintbrush, a bit of ACF50 in a jar, just a matter of dabbing it on.
And let's give it a bit of a spray with the FS365. Of course, you wouldn't really be spraying the tyre, but you do get a lot of overspray when you spray the whole bike. This is the residue left from the FS365 by leaving it overnight. You can see where I oversprayed the tyre and then a bit further around where I didn't. It's quite slippery to the finger when you touch it compared to further down where it's not been oversprayed. And of course the problem is that it gets into the treads themselves. And how do you get that out without brake fluid cleaner? It's not so cold that you get solid frozen good snow, but slush and slurry. And salt, of course, is mixed in with that. So now it's time to go and have a look. This is after a quick rinse with a hose. The ACF50 leg has obviously still got ACF50 on because the water's beaded very nicely off it. Not really sure how much muck has washed off. FS365. The real test will come when it dries out, of course. So here goes. FS365 is the right hand fork, ACF50 is the left hand fork. Let's just see 24 hours after the washing off has been done how they've dried. Wow, I think you can see straight away that there's a lot more crud on the FS365 fork compared to the ACF50 fork. Although you can see where the ACF50 has worn off in the blast that's come from the mudguard there, but most of the fork it has actually rinsed off quite well. Look at the difference. So, in summary, neither of these products is perfect. Neither of them will provide a film on your bike from which the crud will wash off with a hose. For me, this one works better. This one's got its devotees,
and if it's applied regularly every time you ride the bike in the wet, it probably works. But to me, the disadvantages of having to clean it off the tyres in particular is a big minus. This, you can't spray it on all over the bike, but if you use the technique that I prefer, which is wipe the panels with a ACF50 soaked cloth and use a paintbrush to do all the critical bits, then my guess is you only have to do this bit every 3 or 4 rides, maybe even longer, and this even less, because the panels are well protected in their own right. So for me, ACF50 is the winner.